Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. We'll turn to him now for more reaction to this story. Senator, will this incident put an end to high-stakes bets by our financial institutions, which have the potential to wreck the system for so many other normal, regular people?
No, sadly, it won't. I think, Michael, the lesson to be learned here is that these guys have learned nothing since their greed and recklessness and illegal behavior drove this country into the worst recession since the 1930s, causing so many people to lose their jobs and their homes and their savings. These guys have learned nothing. We need to re-regulate. We need to bring back Glass-Steagall. And I'll tell you something else, in my view, and that is when you have the 6 largest financial institutions in this country, including J.P. Morgan Chase, when you have these institutions owning assets equivalent to 2/3 of the GDP of the United States of America, over $9 trillion, when they issue half of the mortgages in this country and 2/3 of the credit cards in this country, you know what you've got to do? You've got to break these companies up.
Well,
you've got to make sure... Pardon me?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
You got to break them up. They
right.
have too much influence and they have too much power, and it leads to 2 things. This kind of concentration of ownership is bad for the economy, and it leads us down the path, once again, of having to bail them out. Michael, in my view, what we need to do as a country is have our financial institutions not engage in gambling. What J.P. Morgan Chase did is they lost money because they were gambling. They made a bad bet.
Sure.
We don't need our large financial institutions betting. We need them investing in the real economy and creating jobs.
Well, look, Bernie, you and Jesse Jackson have been on the forefront and the cutting edge of asking for the return of the Glass-Steagall Act. Tell us about what that means and how it could help in a situation like this when these derivatives investments for months have been known about, and yet the potential wreckage that's going to be caused to the economy looms large. Tell us about Glass-Steagall and why that's important.
Glass-Steagall was legislation enacted in the 1930s, and what it said is that when the federal government is going to provide insurance, FDIC insurance, to banks, what you cannot have is a situation where commercial banks are merging with investment banks, are merging with insurance companies, because the risk to the taxpayer becomes much too great if one of those entities fail and the whole thing goes down.
Right.
And that was Glass-Steagall established walls. Now what we need to do, what we have seen in recent years, is that these large financial institutions have moved far, far away from what traditional banking was about. And what traditional conservative banking was about is a company needs some money, you invest in that company, you lend them money, they go out and create jobs, the economy prospers. These guys are now an island unto themselves, engaging in highly complicated trades and bets and derivatives, which have put the entire world's economy at risk.
Right.
And I think it is time basically to say, you've had your day, you failed, we need a new type of financial system.
Well, right. Well, the Glass-Steagall Act, of course, was the separation of church and state for, the protection of the American populace. Mitt Romney wants to repeal Dodd-Frank and deregulate the financial industry. Now, my God, does this incident hurt his case?
Of course it does, Michael. I mean, it is totally insane. Can you imagine, after all of the damage done because of deregulation, allowing Wall Street to do whatever they wanted to do, which was essentially engaged in highly risky, if not fraudulent, activity? Can you believe somebody saying, well, what we want to do is deregulate, let these guys do anything they want in any way that they want? It is beyond my comprehension that anyone could be talking about deregulating Wall Street.
Right.
But I think most sensible people know we need to re-regulate.
Nobody does it better than him, Senator Bernie Sanders. Thank you.